Hey ladies and gentlemen, Stephen here from Redolessence and welcome back to another video. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. And in today's episode, we're going to be taking a closer look at the newest release by the company Imaginary Authors, and this one is called Telegramma, so make sure to stay tuned. Now this fragrance was released, I think in 2020, it might be late 2019. I do apologize for not knowing the exact date, but I think it's 2020. And the perfumer for this is of course Josh Meyer. So Josh Meyer has made all of the other fragrances for the brand. He is the in-house perfumer. It is an indie brand, it is his brand, and as you can tell, if you can tell, I know it's very high up here, but I own many of their fragrances, even have some in the back here, and there are just many from the company that I absolutely love. So we have Cape Heartache, which is this sort of strawberry pine sort of a scent. It's really to die for. I also really like Mosaic, which I think is discontinued now. That was a very bright, fresh, bergamot heavy fragrance, perfect for the summertime. And I also really enjoy Oh Unknown and some of their other more recent compositions. And so this is a brand that I've been wearing for many years now. And as a matter of fact, Josh Meyer reached out to me not too long ago, and he asked if I would be interested in reviewing this one. He gave me a personal code, but I ended up purchasing this fragrance and I ended up redeeming the code on a different fragrance. So this one was bought by my own money, and I'm really excited to be reviewing this one today. You know, me being a brand owner myself, having my own brands, kind of industry standard that nowadays I like to purchase other fragrances, but Josh Meyer is somebody who I love supporting, and so no problem there. So this one, just to go ahead and read off the notes, you have talc, lavender absolute, fresh linens, black pepper, teak, amorous, vanilla, and it sounds like an amazing fragrance. I remember the first time that I smelled it, it immediately reminded me of one of my favorite fragrances, which is actually now discontinued. And if you've had the chance to try this fragrance that I'm talking about, I'm pretty sure you'll get the similarity as well. I'm really excited to tell you what I think of this fragrance. Let's go ahead and start things off by taking a very quick and close look at the presentation. So the presentation for this fragrance is very nice. So the company is called Imaginary Authors, right? And all of their fragrances are inspired by an imaginary author that the perfumer Josh Meyer made up. And it opens up just like a book. And you can see the silhouette of the bottle here, and there's actually a sample towards the bottom. In old presentations, I believe there was this little flap that you pulled and there was a hidden sample in there. This time it's become rather obvious, and you won't miss it and you won't throw it away by mistake. And the sample that I received is the Cobra and the Canary. This also has a magnetic flap, which is a nice new touch. The side of the box kind of represents the spine of a book, so it's really nice to line all of these up. And you have the name of the fragrance up here as well. And the back of the box contains a quote that would be a quote extracted from the imaginary book. And then you also have what I presume to be the 3 most dominant notes listed on the back here. The bottle for this one is very nice. You just have this graphic here on the front. On the side, you have the name of the fragrance. And on the back, you have the complete note breakdown. And as you can tell, the color of the liquid inside is this rather dark green. You have IA engraved into the cap. The cap for this fragrance has a very snug fit. You can definitely pick this one up from the cap. And the distribution on the atomizer is very wide. Let's continue with the smell. Oh boy, so as soon as this fragrance opens up, it will immediately remind you of, or I mean, if you've tried this fragrance, I personally own it. I have it right here behind me, and it's Eau Noir by Christian Dior. I'm telling you, so many of the elements in this fragrance are so reminiscent of Eau Noir. You have the vanilla, you have a little bit of the spice, you definitely have a lot of this lavender note, and if you look inside the bottle, it's actually green in color, very similar to my bottle of Eau Noir. The only thing perhaps that this is missing that Eau Noir contains is this note of Immortelle, which can kind of give off a little bit of sweetness in and of itself, but it also smells like fenugreek spice. It smells a little bit like curry. It's a little syrupy. I know a lot of people don't like it. It's used in fragrances like New Harlem by Bond No. 9, as well as many others, and I don't have the time to list them off right now, but I remember the first time I smelled it, I was like, oh wow, this smells a lot like Eau Noir. If you've smelled Eau Noir, or perhaps even if you've smelled Sunshine Man by Amouage, you're going to get a fragrance that is within that same wheelhouse. Now, of course, this is not, you know, a clone or anything like that of Eau Noir. It just kind of reminds me of it because it has a lot of the same notes. It has this really authentic, really true to form, very natural smelling lavender in the opening. And you also have this nice touch of vanilla in the background. It's not a gourmand by any sense of the word. It just kind of has like the subtle vanilla in the base that really amplifies all of the other notes. In terms of the black pepper that's used in here, it's not overly abundant. It's not overwhelming. It's not going to make you sneeze. It's not like a Poivre Samarkand by Hermes or anything like that. And in terms of the talc that's used in here, I also don't find this fragrance to be too powdery. You know, there are some ingredients out there like iris or honey that always smell powdery to me for some reason. Back to Black by Kilian. Burberry Touch is like a super powdery type of a fragrance. I don't get anything in here that smells ultra powdery. So for talc to be listed as an ingredient, for me, it misled me a little bit, but in a good way. I know a lot of people out there, they're not really big fans of powdery fragrances, but this one is rather nice. There is a spiciness in here for sure, and I like that the lavender isn't overwhelming. It does smell natural. It's a very well done lavender, but it doesn't smell like Caron pour un homme or Strange Invisible perfumes or many of these really natural, very bright lavender smelling fragrances. I know a lot of people, for some reason, they associate lavender with like cleaning products, and I don't blame them. You're not going to get any of that here. There's definitely a complexity to this fragrance that I really do appreciate. Let me see. Am I missing any notes? Okay, teak and amorous. And so perhaps I'm getting a little bit of the amorous. I have a little bit of experience from it when it comes to Maison Francis Kurkdjian fragrances, but it's done in a very different way. It's hard for me to say that any of these ingredients supersede or are stronger than the lavender and the vanilla that I'm definitely smelling from the onset. Now, in terms of the concentration of the vanilla, I do want to emphasize it's not a gourmand. It's not going to be overly strong. It definitely isn't as strong as the lavender, and there are many other fragrances from Imaginary Authors that utilize a vanilla note in a much stronger concentration, and so this is definitely not at the top of the list or anything like that, but this one is really, really nice. For one of the more recent releases, I like that they're doing something that's different, something that kind of stands itself apart from an olfactory perspective from the rest of the line. None of the other fragrances smell quite the way that this one does. And oh, it just came to me, Memoirs of a Trespasser is absolutely the fragrance to check out if you're looking for a really nicely done vanilla scent from the company Imaginary Authors. But a wonderful company that makes fragrances inspired by Imaginary Authors. Their fragrances even look like a book, and it opens up like a book, and it has a magnetic flap. And so I love how year after year they're constantly improving the presentation, and I can tell that Josh Meyer, even though I've been a huge fan of his work from the beginning, and I love his approach and I love the aesthetic of the brand and the way that the fragrances smell, you can tell that he's owning his craft more and more as the years go on. And so I'm super proud of you. Excellent work on this most recent release. I'm super happy that I bought it and that I have it in my collection now. Let's go ahead and finish things off with my overall assessment. So first up, in terms of the uniqueness and the overall smell, it is a unique fragrance. You know, I've gotten my nose on a lot of different fragrances out there. For me, it kind of reminds me of Sunshine Man by Amouage, Eau Noire by Christian Dior, but I feel like that always happens and it's inevitable. The more you smell, the more you're able to sort of tie back certain scents, and I think that that's a testament of you putting your nose out there and putting yourself out there ultimately. But I do find it to be a unique fragrance, and I know these are very obscure frames of reference, but ultimately it is unique. It does stand on its own two legs, and I'm going to enjoy wearing this one in the months to come. And I do think that the best season for it is now. It's a rather potent scent. It's not beast mode by any means, but it's one that will do really, really well, and so you can afford to wear this one in the cold weather. The overall smell on this one, while it does cater to my personal taste and I love the way that it smells, it's probably one of the more difficult Imaginary Authors fragrances to recommend. Not as difficult as The City on Fire. I think that that one can come across smelling rather smoky. It's not as easy to recommend as something like Falling into the Sea or Mosaic or some of the brighter, fresher, more versatile, more mass appealing scents. Even like the Cobra and the Canary, aside from like that leathery component, is very easy to recommend. I feel like it's not going to turn off too many people, but it is a very uniquely put together fragrance, and it utilizes some ingredients that are not for the average taste or the average consumer, so just keep that in mind when it comes to making a recommendation. In terms of the longevity on this one, I did get about 7 to 8 hours on my skin, so the longevity on this one was great. Projection on this one was great for the first 2 hours. It wasn't until that 5 to 5.5 hour mark that it started to sit closer to the skin. It never radiated beyond an arm's length, but the performance on this one is pretty good. And in terms of the versatility, it is a unisex fragrance. I can totally see that. And even the other fragrances that I happened to mention, probably with the exception of Sunshine Man, are unisex. I know the one behind me here is unisex, and so I can see a woman wearing this one very comfortably, and I personally love wearing this one as well. I think in terms of seasons, I just wouldn't wear this one in the dead of summer. Like I said, it kind of has like this this sort of sweet, sticky Immortelle thing going on in here, which I get much more strongly in Eau Noir, not as strong in this one. Maybe it doesn't even contain Immortelle, but because of those ingredients that are used in here, it might be something that might turn people off, or it might become cloying in the summer. So wear it when the weather gets a little bit colder outside. So the best time to pick this one up is now. Definitely sample it now and see if you like it. I think that this is something for someone who has been into fragrances for a while and you want something that smells different, a little bit avant-garde, more on the artisanal side. You're not looking for like another blue fragrance. Definitely check this one out. However, if you're in the market for something very safe, very appealing, very easy to wear, easy going, I would definitely check out something like Falling into the Sea or Mosaic if you can still get your hands on a bottle of that. That was really, really good juice. And I do think that this is one that can be worn dressed up or dressed down. I think it's affordable enough that you can wear it dressed down, but it's unique enough that you could wear it dressed up and you will get some heads to turn. In terms of the presentation, constantly improving. I really like the way that it looks. And so my final verdict on this fragrance is, if you are a fan of lavender based fragrances but you're looking for something that's a little bit on the spicy and slightly sweet side, definitely check this one out. I know Eau Noir by Christian Dior has not necessarily been discontinued, but I think it's only available at the Paris boutique. If you're a fan of that fragrance and you know how tough it is to get it, and you're looking for something that smells similar to it, albeit a different fragrance, but still bearing some similarities, definitely check out Telegramma. I personally really enjoy this one. I'm a huge fan of this fragrance, super happy to have it in my collection. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in. That was my review of Telegramma by Imaginary Authors. Obviously, if you own or have tried this fragrance, please do go ahead and let me know what you think. Leave a comment down below. Also, if you are new to this channel and you took something of value from this video, I would love it if you could support this channel by subscribing to it. It is optional, but all you need to do is click that red button in the corner, and this way, whenever I do upload future fragrance-related content, it will get delivered straight to your feed. You never need to worry about missing any of my future uploads. And of course, that includes fragrance reviews just like this, giveaways, top 10s, unboxings, special guests, interviews, announcements, and a whole lot more. Thanks again for watching. I love you all, and we'll see you next time.